What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a new episode of the TRIFLIX cast. My name is Tristan Watkins, and today we have a special guest, Caleb Lowe, one of the most helpful people I've met. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing well. It's a good day. So this is the TRIFLIX cast. We interview creative, innovative people. We ask them, try to get their life story out of the way, try to understand what it is that makes them so passionate about whatever it is that they're into. And with Caleb here today, I'm kind of curious of why it is that you're such a helpful person. Why a lot of people in our close circle of friends, they recognize you as somebody that's always willing to go out of their way to, make drives and just whatever it is that people need, you're there for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious. Can we go ahead and start on like who you are, what it is that you work, like what kind of stuff you do right now?
Well, I'm Caleb, like you said. I work at a agricultural trailer place. We work on semi-trailers and we install flatbeds on trucks and just kind of like a mechanic.
Yeah.
And that's what I do for a living. That's how I make my money. That's how I pay my bills.
So I thought you switched out of the mechanic role?
I'm still a mechanic. So I just work on trailers now. So I used to work on cars at a dealership. Now I work on trailers, like semi-trailers. So like farmers need to move their grain, whatever they harvested, to like a plant, and like the trailers they use is what I work on, or like cattle trailers. So like how McDonald's gets their beef is I make that possible. So you're welcome.
Yeah, everyone that eats at McDonald's, you can thank Caleb now. So I guess, how long have you been doing that type of work then?
Just working
with like the transportation side.
So I worked on cars throughout high school. My dad turned wrenches. So like
by trade or just
like
on the side?
He's a full mechanic, diesel tech, and I worked on a lot of my old stuff. We didn't have the money to buy like brand new cars. So like my first like car was a 85 F-150 that was a piece of junk. So just working on that, and that's what I did. I started doing that in high school. It's not what I want to do for a living, but it's what I was good at.
So you didn't have a lot growing up then?
Not really.
Yeah.
So that's what I did for fun in high school, and then I went to college, and I went to college for psychology, and because that's what I really want to do.
Why is that?
I want to help people, like I don't know. I saw a need for people that needed help, and I was like going through some things, and I appreciated what people around me did just to help out. And they, whether it was talking to me or picking me up or taking me to dinner, if I needed something, someone was there to help out. And my counselors in like high school, like were super cool, and they always helped me. And they were like, "Well, you'd probably be good at like not like psychology." They said like being a counselor. Yeah. Like talking to people and helping people. So that's what I really wanted to do. College was not my thing. Not good at school.
Just showing up like for a 9 to 5, or what do you mean by it wasn't your thing?
So college sucked because I'm terrible at like studying and focusing, and like I can't sit through like a class. I want to do something. Yeah. So it just wasn't for me. My friends would call me and be like, "Hey, do you want to go get dinner?" Or they'd be like, "Hey, I'm going to go pick up this truck to go work on." Or like, "I'm going to go buy something. Do you want to go with?" And I'd be like walking into school, and they'd be calling me, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I can probably make that happen." So I just turn around, walk to my car, and
Was that just because you wanted to help people, or you just really didn't like school and you'd take any excuse to not attend?
A little bit of both. Yeah. Like I went for psychology, but I had to take math. Hate math. Terrible at English.
I think, I feel like for a lot of people, like that's probably relatable in a way.
Yeah, so like I was like, yeah, I can skip this class, like whatever. And then my friends would be like, they'd need somebody to go with them. So I was the guy to call.
Yeah. So you said that like while you were in school, people were helping you out. What did just in general, or like was there something specific that kind of stood out to you where you realized like, hey, this is really cool how people are always there for me type of situation?
Yeah. So there's a couple different specific situations that was always like key to like, man, I want to be that guy for somebody. I want to be able to get the phone call and just head out and just go help them. I was like in middle school, and then the youth pastor at my church got let go, and I took it really rough. But then the pastor.
Were you close with him then?
Yeah, he was. I liked youth group because he was cool to hang out with, and he was fun, and he like he would always talk to me and like make sure I was good.
Yeah, keep you in line.
Yeah, make sure I wasn't doing anything stupid. So he had a big impact on my life growing up, and then he was let go, and the senior minister kind of took over for a little bit, and he kind of took over that role, and he was always there for me, and I took it rough because like that guy was I considered him a role model, like I wanted to be like him, and he ended up working for the school system. But if I needed something, like we said, like I didn't have a whole lot growing up. Like my parents provided what I needed, but like I never had like the newest clothes. I never had whatever.
Right. It's like so in like psychology, you said it a little bit. I don't know if you got to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
You have the basic fundamentals, the food, water, shelter. So they provided.
They provided what they needed to provide and what they could provide.
Yeah. But as far as going above and beyond, that was something you had to work for yourself to earn.
Yeah.
And go out and get.
Yeah. So, when my youth pastor was no longer my youth pastor, he was a sub for a while, and then he worked for the school system. But if I needed something, he was always there. Like he always had like really cool clothes. So if I needed like when he was donating or getting rid of stuff in his closet, he would just call me up and be like, "Hey, I've got a trash bag full of like cool stuff. Like, do you want it?" And I was like, "Well, yeah."
Yeah.
He'd buy like Fox shirts and like really like nice clothes that my parents could never afford, but like I wanted. So he always like had my back, and like if I was having a hard time, like even he wasn't my youth minister, like he did not have to like be like, "I'm there for you." He like if I called him, he was like, "Yeah, come over, and we'll just sit and we'll talk, and he'll make sure I'm good, and then we just call it." Like he was always there for me. So that was like the big like, man, I want to be able to get that call from a friend or from like a student from like my church, and then if they need something, I can be like, "Yeah, I'm on my way."
Yeah. So like, I don't know what your general thought process is going throughout the day in high school. Considering you said you weren't too big on school in college, I assume high school was probably.
No, it wasn't the best. Like I did well. I did decently for being in school, but I took trade classes. So I took construction, so I learned how to like build a house and whatever.
Okay.
And then I was in yearbook.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't do anything specific with yearbook. Like I didn't like write or I didn't take pictures.
Right.
None of that. It was like Kay Green was my teacher, and she was like realized I wasn't doing well GPA wise. So she was like, "Hey, I could use you to help me like run errands for yearbook or like send out invoices or whatever."
So you'd mentioned like the reason you didn't like college because there was a lot of sitting down and there wasn't a lot of work that was physical. You like going out with your friends, doing all these things, and the classes you excelled in high school were classes that allowed you to work with your hands.
Yeah, and I could just do stuff, kind of work at my own pace or like do what I needed to do. And so yeah, I just kind of did those things. She was another person in my life that was just she kind of made it like she was always helping students, and she was always like whatever they needed, she helped with. I did terrible in English. My English teacher like got a hold of Kay Green, and she was like, "Hey, Caleb needs like to do better in my class. I don't know what to do." And like Kay Green sat me down and was just like, "This is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna make sure you get your homework done before you help me." And so really, she boosted my GPA by giving me a graded resource, and she was just like, "If you need help," because she's a journalism teacher. Yeah, she knows how to write.
Like she knows how to motivate people.
Yeah. So she kind of just helped me out and made sure like I did well in school enough to graduate. And
so how did that like affect you personally? Like did it, confidence level, like anything?
So it boosted my confidence just because I could be like work on my own stuff, and she would like be like, "Wow, this is really good, Caleb. Like you're doing a great job." And she's like, "Your grammar sucks, like, but like the storyline is great, and like your writing skills are good." So that helped out a lot, and kind of pushed me to, because there's a time where I just want to drop out. Okay. And so she kind of pushed me and was just like, let's get it done. You're almost there. Just finish up the year.
So that was your senior year then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she did, I was in a resource freshman year, and every year after that, she like went to my deans and was just like, I'm Caleb's resource teacher. Just put him in my class, any of them. So any class she had, one period a day, I was in it. I just sat in the back, did whatever I wanted, kind of worked on homework or listened to music.
Yeah, so. But she was someone that would still like encourage you to do well and continue going. So that's good.
If I was being an idiot, and she would pull me and be like, just kind of sit me down and be like, are you thinking about what you're doing? Like, are you proud of what you're doing? And if I said no, then she was like, well, then fix it.
Yeah, so we've interviewed quite a few people now, and almost all of them, we try to get conversations about what you're passionate about. And whenever you look back at where people, it first clicks for them, this is something I want to do, whether that's making movies, whether that's starting nonprofits and helping people, or just being a genuinely, like doing your best to be a genuine person that helps everyone in their way. It almost always derives from, at some point in their life, something made them feel a certain type of way, whether that's euphoric or just happy or really sad, right? And that's what motivates them to either do something or to do the complete opposite, right?
Yeah.
So for you, it sounds like you're just a lot of this motivation for you to go out of your way to help people now comes from all these people pouring in your life whenever you either didn't have much or you didn't have the the motivation, and they kind of help inspired you to continue even if you didn't want to.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So where I guess where does that lead you to now as far as you helping and going out of your way, like at what level are you willing to put yourself at risk in order to help other people?
Like obviously I'm not going to like hurt myself to try and like go out of my way and like stress myself out. I've been there. I've been to the point where I've been so exhausted from helping people that I've just crashed for like 3 days, or I had to go see someone about getting meds because I was so stressed. So like I finally figured my limits. Yeah. But I go pretty far. I'll take work off if someone needs like a ride to the airport. I'll take work off and burn up a vacation day just because like they need it. No one else is there. Yeah. And like for things that like interrupt my life and I might have to cancel plans for, I try not to cancel plans with my friends. But like if someone needs the help, I'll be like, yeah, I can do it. But I'm like the last ditch effort. Yeah. Kind of thing. Like if you need help, I'm willing to help. Like I can do it. But if it's interfering with like a scheduled thing, like something I've had planned, then I'll probably just be like, just try and find someone else. And if you can't, I'll be there.
Yeah. So did you have at a certain point, because you had mentioned that over a period of time, you were exhausting yourself. You were going beyond what you would consider maybe healthy limits or healthy boundaries with your friends or whoever's asking for help. Was there a breaking point for you where you're like, all right, this is the last time where, and I'm actually curious of what that was, if you had one? Like, what does it take for someone who's very compassionate and outgoing to, kind of turn it down a bit?
So like, there's a point where I was saying yes to everybody. I'd always help them go pick up cars or trucks. Like my grandparents have a trailer and then I have a truck. And then if people need help moving or whatever, I'd be there. So there's a point where a specific person was just like, hey, I'm going to go get this. Can we use your truck and trailer? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And eventually I was like, man, like I need gas money or something because I'm driving a lot. And then one day we drove to north side of Anderson. And
it's a long drive. That's like 2-ish hours.
Yeah, and we didn't take the interstate. We took State Road 9 all the way up.
So was that 2.5, almost 3?
Yeah. Yeah. And we're hauling a trailer, and we're picking up a truck that's not light. It's like a old truck. And we get back, and I get like $10, $20 for gas for the whole day. Wow. Burned a whole day. Probably put $90 to $100 in fuel in my truck. Yeah.
And plus the time it takes to go out and do that.
Yeah. So I was, and then that was it. And we drop it off, and then like later that like the next day, I'm talking to my grandpa, and I'm just like, Grandpa, how do you say no? Like, it's just so hard for me to say no. Like, what do I do in this situation when people just start using me? And he goes, you just suck it up and just say no. Like, you don't want to say no.
Right.
But you just have to. You got to learn how to just be like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And that was a big point in my life where I was just like, I need to figure it out. I need to stop letting people walk over me and just help when I can and not, like, ruin my life to help others.
Yeah, it helps you become more intentional with the kindness. Like, it's not compulsive at that point. It's I am choosing to spend my resources to help you, you know, and I'm offering that for free in most cases, right?
Yeah.
So why you said that it's hard for you to say no, and some people it's really easy for them to say no.
Yeah.
Have you thought much about why it's so hard for you? Why it may feel compulsive almost, or compelled? I mean.
Yeah. So I haven't really thought of it, honestly, but like, I think it's just like I know the feeling when I need help and people say no, and it sucks. Like, let's say you're burning the midnight oil, you're just busting butt trying to get stuff done, and you call a friend and you're like, hey man, like I need your help. I've got to finish this. They say, well, I'm busy, and I was like, well, is there any way you can help? Like, no one else is answering. You're like, I can't. Then you're stuck there alone, exhausted, trying to finish something, whether it's a project or you're moving or like you're just trying to get some work done, and they say no. And I don't want people to feel like I'm going to say no. Like, I want people to know they can count on me if they need my help. So I don't like saying no. I do if I have to, but I don't like to. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good thing to learn, because I think everybody has a different breaking point. Everyone has, different financial statuses that allow them, like a philanthropist can say yes to significantly more things to somebody that's maybe in our tax bracket.
Right. Right. I can't give you thousands of dollars, but I can give you my time.
Yeah. Have you thought of ever or trying to do something more organized as far as finding a way to help people? Like we've had several people come on that do nonprofits, some starting them I think as young as 17, but these guys are younger than 25 overall, and they just love helping people, and for one reason or another something inspired them to go out of their way to start something that was like a whole company. And I'm not suggesting that you do, but have you ever thought about organizing like a town event or something for the church, or like what have your thoughts been on that?
I don't like organizational things, I guess you could say.
That makes sense.
I'm more of more of like a background player. Yeah. So I don't want the limelight. I don't care if I'm recognized. Yeah. I do to an extent. Like, it'd be nice. Like, everyone wants to be recognized, but I don't need to be recognized. So
is it recognition or appreciation for you? Or both?
Both. Yeah. Like, I like the recognition. I also like the appreciation. When you're a background player, I feel like you get more appreciation than recognition. And I just want to help people. So I, like, for like my close friends, I may like rub it in their face, be like, hey, I helped you, just to be a jerk, just to mess with them and make them feel bad, just for fun sometimes.
So caring.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but that's what they get for me helping them.
Yeah. Like, that's for you, that's your way of like getting your repayment. Like, you're not going to actually ask them for gas money or anything.
Yeah, no. Like, if it's something crazy, if I'm driving across town all day for them, I'll be like, hey, just put gas. Like, I'll have my truck filled up before I leave. I'll just fill it up when I'm done. It makes sense. Like, like, it's your fuel at this point. It's not mine.
Yeah, and it's still you letting them use your equipment, or maybe you're driving, but they're getting to use that equipment for the day, and that's still huge.
And they get to spend a day with me, and
the biggest joy of all.
Yeah, that's priceless. So I just like, I don't want to run anything. I don't want to organize anything. Yeah, I want people to know that, like, they need me, they can call me, and like, more than likely I'm going to be bored playing Modern Warfare.
On what platform?
Xbox.
Yeah. So you're a gamer?
Yeah. Well, when I have time.
When you're not helping?
Yeah, when I'm not helping people.
Yeah. Well, I've been playing it Modern Warfare as well on PC, but you're actually the one that got me into it.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah, apparently it's cross-play, so I play with the controller, so I do get to play with you. If you're actually, that's how you can help me. I want to play with you, so now you should. Cool. You should jump on tonight or something.
Deal.
Do you have like one incident in particular that stood out to you as like, if it weren't not to like rub it in their face, like if it weren't for me, you wouldn't be where you are today, type of thing. But like for your own reflection and like something that brings you joy, is there like something that like stands out to you as like, oh, that was that one time that like I'm really proud I was able to make a difference in their life?
Yeah.
And you don't have to mention names. I think it'd probably be best if we didn't.
I don't like to mention names, so try not to.
I appreciate it. I'm sure they do too.
Yeah. There was an incident when I had a friend. He was in a bad spot, rough spot. Mm-hmm. He wasn't doing so hot, and he drank a lot. So like, there's a time where he had missed work, and like someone needed to be there to watch him. Yeah. To be like, stop drinking. We need to get your shit straight. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's actually the first time we've had that happen. The way I view that, we'll break that down real quick, and then we'll jump back into your story.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So yeah, it is I guess an adult podcast, but the point of the show is to find out what inspires people, and people are passionate, and when people are passionate, they use very descriptive words. Yep. And one of the main things for myself personally is, the difference between cursing and cussing. I think almost every guest we've had on, I think maybe other than one or two, has been Christian. Yeah. So I think a lot of the guests I bring on have similar views. And for me, a lot of the sins that are broken down that when I read the Bible, are broken down based on intent. And if your intent to use one word or another, I don't care what the word is. If you're trying to tear somebody down, to me, that's cursing.
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
Now, if you're just using a specific word, that's just a social taboo. That's a word that in the United States we consider bad. Now, there's a lot of words, if I said in public in the U.S., that are foreign words that also mean the exact same thing. If people don't know what the word means, then they don't care. They don't, and for me, it just comes down to the intent. So I don't think he meant anything bad by it. In fact, you were trying to help him get his stuff together. Yeah. And that's totally fine. So if people listening don't like that, then I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna bleep it.
But anyway, so I was like, you get your stuff together. Fixed it. There you go. And he wasn't having it, and just kind of dragged me to the other room. Was like, this is what we're doing. And I just kind of sat and just hung out for like, I think total, I was with him for 4 days.
In a row? Consecutive?
Yep. There was one day where I went to work,
that's good.
And I got a call, and I like walked to my boss, and I was like, hey man, like, not trying to dip out on you or anything, but I've got priorities. And it wasn't one of those things where like, this person could have, like, someone would have been there, whether it was me or someone else. But I was in a position where I could tell my boss, I have to go, and I have to take care of this, and I wasn't going to get in trouble for it.
Yeah. Was it? I'm just curious. Was it to the point that you thought it could lead to self-harm, or was it just he had self-destructive habits?
Self-destructive.
Okay.
Not really self-harm, but self-destructive. That if someone wasn't there, it could have got a lot worse, and like, you don't want that. So so I left work. I spent a few days with him. His roommate was out of town. His roommate was like on vacation, was like, I'm coming home. And I was like, don't worry about it. I'll just stay here. Slept on their couch, made sure he was good, and just watched him to a point where, like, it wasn't just me. It was multiple people in the community that ended up showing up. Yeah. And it was like a group effort, but I definitely was there for, like, the majority of it. And it wasn't, like, I was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to help people. But it wasn't until I posted an Instagram, like, picture of, like, chilling. I was reading the Bible. I had, like, 5 ribbits. And I quoted the Bible when Jesus was praying and the disciples fell asleep. I was like, and I quoted that, and my caption was, this only happened because they didn't have ribbits. And I had like 4 ribbits, like those dollar energy drinks. And
I was gonna ask what a rip it is. I assumed it was a drink.
It's super cheap, like Monster.
Okay.
So I had a bunch of those. Not like I was on like maybe second day of like maybe 3 hours of sleep total.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's where we were talking earlier about. Have you ever done anything that was like, affects your own health? Okay, so that's where we are right now.
So this instant, it wasn't more of I wasn't worried about myself, because I've been like through like 3 or 4 days of no sleeping, just working on homework or working on projects. So it wasn't like uncommon. So like a couple hours of sleep was nothing. So like, and then someone, one of the pastors in the community messages like, "You're a good guy." And like from that point, I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, I'm doing good things. I'm making good choices. Like, and I'm helping people, and that's what I wanted. Yeah,
the way you started to describe that too, of whenever you came over, you're like, "Hey, we need to get your stuff together." Like you weren't doing it to be mean. You were doing it because you clearly cared about him. And the way you described that was very similar to the way you described your teacher in high school. Of like, "Hey, I like you, but if you don't get your stuff together, like you can't help me in this class anymore." Like you were letting them know that you're there for them and that you want to still support them.
Yeah. So that was probably the biggest, like in the last 5 years. That's probably been like the thing that's like hit me.
Keeps you going.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Yep.
So as far as like the mechanic stuff goes, you mentioned that you started doing that in high school, and then you did construction as well?
Yeah, I took C4 classes.
Okay.
So my thought process was, I know how to work on cars. My dad taught me.
Yeah.
If I want to own a house someday, I'm not going to pay someone. I'm going to just do it myself.
Right.
So learn how to do the basics, like electrical, plumbing, just carpentry.
Yeah, and C4, for people that don't know, is a trade school or a vocational education system that we have in our high schools around this region. Most schools do have them to some extent.
Yeah.
Ours is actually pretty extensive. They'll have veterinarian, they'll have all the engineering principles.
I'm pretty sure like 70% of the girls that go to high school get their CNAs in high school.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is extremely high, and a lot of those people with whatever their background is that they study in high school get their internships while they're in high school, and they can continue on. I did mine through engineering, and that's how I got into Cummins while still in high school.
I was offered 3 jobs in high school my senior year.
Yeah.
Because of it.
That's good.
So
I've always been really interested actually in not necessarily the automotive side so much, but the construction. My grandpa growing up was into construction. He's built additions onto the home, and I always thought that was really cool. But I've never had any formal training. Yeah. So it's really intimidating for somebody that hasn't had any training at all to start working on all these things up until YouTube came out, of course.
Right. YouTube saves everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you can learn pretty much anything, man. It's crazy. Actually, we almost forgot. We saved this one for the end. Shout out to our sponsor for the day. I totally spaced, but we'll get them here because that's what matters.
Yep.
Hill Zion Records is a family-friendly music label based out of Nashville, Tennessee. They're producing a lot of music specifically for like the rap genre. They're continuing to bring in more partners and more artists onto their label. I really like them. I think they do a good job. We've done work for before, and we're still continuing to grow our partnership. So shout out to them. If you guys are interested, we'll have links in the description below to go check out some of their music, as well as actually we'll link to the lyric video we've made for one of their artists before. That was probably about 1.5 years ago, though. We haven't done a lyric video in quite a while. But yeah. So I think we talked pretty much about the full extent of. I guess no, we only started at high school. Mm-hmm. Do you want to reflect a little further back?
Further back?
Yeah.
There's not much more further back.
Not that you want to bring up.
High school was game changer.
Okay.
Just like everyone, something happens in high school that makes them choose their career or what they want to do, and I feel like that's where my story really starts. Before that, it's just, little boy.
But you had mentioned like your upbringing, like it's clearly shaped you. I think everyone's has in some way, whether that's for a healthy or a negative perspective. Like growing up in the household that you did, How do you think that's had a large impact, or have you pretty much outgrown all of it?
It probably had a pretty big impact.
Mm-hmm.
I watched my mom help people all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
my dad doesn't say a lot, doesn't talk a lot, but he helps people. He doesn't try it. He tries to be I don't know, like isolated, and he doesn't like be outspoken. He's just a quiet dude in the back. But,
Yeah.
like if someone needs help, he'll be like, sure, whatever, I can do that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then my grandpa was an elder at my church, so like he always helped people.
Yeah.
So.
And you mentioned growing up, like you didn't always you didn't have everything that you had maybe have wanted or thought of having. And then speaking off camera, you said that you do tend to buy your friends quite extravagant gifts.
Yeah, when I have the extra cash.
Yeah.
Or if I have the opportunity.
Well, I think that's unique. A lot of times people that grow up in a certain circumstance, they will desire the opposite because the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
And despite, you saying that you grew up with less,
mm-hmm.
you're still really open to the idea of not only giving away your time, but you're also giving away your money to people that you clearly care about and love.
Yeah.
So why is it easy for you, or is that difficult?
A little bit of both. I don't like if I'm gonna buy someone something, I'm not gonna buy like a gaming system.
Yeah.
Like David, I gave him a Nintendo Switch, but I won that.
Yeah.
I didn't have a use for it, and I've heard him talk about it all the time when they first came out.
Mm-hmm.
I won it at work, had a Christmas party, and I was like, you can have it.
Yeah.
And then I've had another friend where he liked to work on things. He has a longboard, and he's always working on it, but I noticed he had some janky tools. So I was like, well, I have the money. I'm already spending a bunch of money on Snap-on. So, like, I was just like, I bought him like a toolkit. It's like a 200-piece toolkit of Snap-on tools.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're off-brand, but still.
Yeah, Snap-on's.
Still Snap-on. So I got that for him because I knew he could use it. I knew the tools would last forever. And I knew if he ever needed them fixed, he could just, like, call the dealer and be like, hey, this broke. Can I get it fixed or replaced?
Those are all good, but those are still like some of the smaller things. Like you've said that you've done cars before, and yeah, several.
I have a friend. He's a missionary. He had an old janky car, and when he was gone, I would drive it. This is a gas saver or whatever, and he blew it up before he left the last time to go.
Is it a funny story on how he blew it up?
It's kind of funny.
Okay.
So, like, he had called me, like, a couple months before, like, it had blown up, and he's like, hey, man, this light came on, and I was like, well, describe it to me. He goes, it looks like a genie lamp, and it's flashing. I was like, dude, go to a parts store, buy some oil, and put it in there, because you don't have any oil in your car. So, I just left it at that. I figured, you're a grown man, you know how to buy oil, how to put it in your car. Turns out, he knows how to buy oil, because he had the oil in his car.
Yeah.
He just didn't put it in his car.
Well, he couldn't find the oil cap. He only had the 710.
Yeah, it's rough, man. hate when that happens.
Yeah.
So
he just drove it till it blew.
He just drove it, and I was out helping someone one Sunday morning. Just I forget what I was doing, but I'd
that call.
Yeah, I skipped church. And, I know, I was volunteering at a camp. I was cooking food for, like, a camp thing.
Yeah.
And
of course, always giving.
And, like, I'm cleaning up, and I'm dropping some stuff off, and I get a phone call, and he was just like, hey, my car's, like, losing power. And I was like, I was just like, his lights are going dim, has to be an alternator. Because the car wouldn't start when I showed up, and it needed a battery and an alternator. So we went and got a battery and an alternator, because, like, the alternator tested bad when we took it into the parts store. So it was like, it needs it. Get it started. He showed me the oil he bought, so I put oil in it. Figured it was still okay. Started fine. I didn't hear any issues, whatever. Yeah. I go inside the house, and I'm, like, talking to his roommate, and he comes back. He goes, it died a couple times, but, like it was working. And I was like, what? And I was really confused, and, like, I go out, and I start it, and just a rod is just knocking, just ruined all the bearings in the engine, and it's bad.
Yeah.
And doesn't have enough power to pull itself. Like, it's not good.
Not drivable.
Yeah. So we're sitting there, and I was like, "Have you not added oil since I told you?" He goes, "No, that's why we got more oil, is because like I never added any." I was like, "Okay, this makes sense." And he leaves in like 7 days, like 2 weeks, to go back. Over in Austria is where he goes, and we're like trying to figure it out. I just bought an S10 from my grandpa because I work in Seymour, so I wanted that for a gas saver. I'm sitting there, and I was like, first off, you're gonna call Seasting, which is our pastor, and I said, go ahead and tell him what you did. And like at that point, I'm just laughing.
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's funny.
It's
in a
funny.
way.
I'm also super mad. Because, like, our agreement was I take care of this car, I fix this car, and then he gives me the car as a gas saver for when I go to work. So he really blew up my car. So I was frustrated.
Yeah.
At the least. And I was like, well, I still have my big truck. It's a gas hog, but I still have it. He doesn't want, like, this guy's a hippie dude. So he doesn't want to drive a big truck, eco-friendly, whatever. And I was like, just threw him the keys to my S10. And I was like, this is what you're driving for 2 weeks. And then we'll figure something out when you come back.
Yeah.
Because he was gone for like 3 months.
Right.
So, like, that was it. And then he leaves. I get my truck back. I get my S10 back. I'm driving that for a minute. And then I'm out at the bar with a friend. He's leaving. He left last month to go to the Navy, but in October he goes, hey man, I have this Mini Cooper. And I was like, all right. And like, cool. He goes, need some work. He goes, $1,000. And I was like, don't really want to spend $1,000, but like, would you do like 400? And we ended up I bought the car for $400, put probably $800 in it.
Was it running?
Yeah, it ran. It needed brakes and an exhaust, and it needed like a tire. So I just bought all the stuff and fixed it. And missionary friend comes back, and the Mini Cooper wasn't done yet because I was still waiting on some parts. And so I gave him the S10, and over the weekend, I finished the Mini Cooper, got it all registered, insured, and just showed up, gave the dude a 2004 Mini Cooper race car, and he's texted me every day since, just super excited about it.
That's awesome. I'm glad he's excited about it. That's good.
And that's I think that's the third
car
I've given away.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Yeah.
Most of the cars that I have are like turds.
But they're running into somebody that doesn't have anything.
Yeah, so someone that needs to get on their feet and they don't have like much, I'm just like, go ahead. The same guy I gave the Mini Cooper to, his friend got out of rehab or something. I don't know the story, but he got out and he needed a car, and I had like a '99 Camry, beat to crap. Like, I jumped this thing, like me and my friends just ragged on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you can have it.
Yeah.
Like, at first I was like $600, and you buy me a steak meal. And this guy was like, awesome. And then this guy ended up like getting custody of his kids back because he had like went through rehab or whatever his situation was. And I was like, not even worried about it.
No steak?
Yeah. He still owes me a steak. I haven't seen it yet, but
yeah. Well, there you go, man. That's still really cool. It's hard to imagine, you know, I don't know, maybe people listening don't find it hard to imagine, but for me, it's like, even when you have a little bit or a lot of it, it's still hard to imagine giving away a car. Like,
right.
Even if it's a beater, even if it's, I mean, maybe just because we're just out of college and like we have student debt and all this, but like still, it's really, I think it's really cool that you get to make these opportunities for yourself.
Yeah. The way I looked at it is I take that for granted. So right now I own 4 cars. I have like a little pickup truck that doesn't run. I have a Sonoma, like a S10 Sonoma, little pickup truck, and that's like my daily. I have a truck that, like, since high school, I've put thousands of dollars in because it's fun to me. It's like a hobby to me. And then now I have that Mini Cooper, and you can't drive all of them.
Yeah.
So, like, let someone else drive it.
Mm-hmm.
I was referred to, I think it was Saturday, as a poor man's enterprise.
Yeah. So, I can see that.
So, like, they run enough that you could, like, if you needed to go to Indy, you could just drive it to Indy.
Yeah.
Or, like, I drive the S10 30 miles every day to Seymour and go to work, and then I drive the same way back, and it does the job.
Yeah.
Runs like crap, looks like crap, but it gets me where I need to go.
Yeah.
And that's
it meets your needs.
Yeah, and, I mean, I take that for granted. I could drive something nice. If I really wanted to, I could have a car payment. I could afford a car payment, but...
But why?
Yeah, but why? So, and then I know other people are like, I can't afford a car payment. I can afford a piece of crap car.
Yeah.
And, or they're like this guy's a missionary I give the car to.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be gone in 2-3 months, maybe 4 months. And, like, I'll have my car back and let someone else drive it.
Yeah. Well,
so
we're coming to a closing, man. Got a couple, like,
That's
maybe
fair.
1-2 minutes left. Do people have a lot of misunderstandings about you?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Okay. Well, then shoot.
Misunderstanding. I like to go party with my friends sometimes.
Okay.
So people like refer to me as like the party dude. He just goes out and gets drunk and he's a jerk.
Really?
I've gotten that from a few like people, and then some of my friends are like, yeah, he may do that, but he's also like the one guy I can count on.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad, anytime I used to do something stupid, he goes, "Aren't you a Christian?" And this is coming from my dad.
Yeah.
Who, he's agnostic, so he knows something's out there. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't go to church.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Get your crap together, Caleb."
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole being a Christian, working in a mechanic field,
it's probably hard.
Yeah. So a lot of people I work with are jerks. And you got to be able to hold your own, whether it's just a bad joke, like they're making fun of you, so you got to do it back, because that's the atmosphere, or it's walking away and someone behind you saying you're a pansy.
Yeah, just like passive-aggressive culture, machoism.
Yeah, so being a Christian, and then still going out, because I'm not going to throw my old friends to the curb. Mm-hmm. That's not what you're supposed to do.
You become a Christian, you cut everyone off. And,
yeah,
I mean,
just like, see ya.
There's a difference between healthy boundaries, but I mean, if they're good people at the same time, you shouldn't turn your back on them.
So like, I'll still go get drinks with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll still hang out with them. I'll go see terrible movies with them. But and then people throw out that concept of, you do all these good things, why are you making bad decisions? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, well, I'm not. Okay. So that's a misconception, I guess.
I feel like we could have talked a whole podcast on just that subject.
Next time.
Maybe, yeah. If people want to hear about what it's like to be a Christian in adverse work environments specifically, or what is or isn't okay to do as a Christian, like what takes you out of that element? Like, if you do this, you are no longer a Christian, type of thing.
Right. That's a whole podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And I would like to have people like, Luke Erb or John Budnick, people that have studied theology pretty heavily, or anyone for that matter, that would like to come on. And I know we're supposed to be, like, the reason I do this show is to promote passionate, creative people. I think
the people are passionate about that.
Yeah. And I think, like, it can be a really large part. Like, if you're passionate about something, how do you find a healthy balance between continuing to be creative or promotive in an environment that is very adverse to it?
Right.
It's like, if you're
into one thing, like you're into like drawing, but like, let's say you're an artist, but you work in a factory where there's nothing artistic about anything in there.
And people see you doodling during lunch, and then like jotting down something, and then like you're getting passive aggressively harassed because
someone's making fun of you, asking, like, saying you're Picasso and asking why you're working on an assembly line.
Yeah. And I mean, that's sadly, I think a lot of times people that do that are probably people that aren't happy where they are either.
Right.
So that's a bummer. I feel bad for them.
Yeah.
Advice, people, just anything about anything.
Advice?
Yeah.
Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk. Keep it simple.
That's pretty much it. Like, be kind. Mm-hmm. Be the change you want in the world.
Yeah. I like that. Simple. I don't know. Do you want people to be able to contact you?
No, I don't care.
Now that everyone knows you give away trucks and you help people. You're like, yeah, no, just my close friends.
Yeah. So then I'm going to have a bunch of fake friends. Just, hey, remember that time we had 7th grade, like, math together?
I feel like if you've interacted with as many people as you have, you probably have a pretty good sense of self-awareness and what people's motives are.
Yeah. No, it's pretty obvious when someone wants something versus when they just want to be a friend.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean.
Yeah. The other one is you can tell when people are either they say they're too busy. It's like you can tell the difference between them. They probably are actually busy versus that's just the response.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when they're like, yeah, I'm super busy. And then they throw a Snapchat story up and they're like at a club.
Ooh.
And it's like the one that's like 30 minutes away from your house or like down the street. And you're just like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I generally tell people if I already have plans, I don't like lying.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. If people do want to find you though, if you want, you can give out social media links or however they can get a hold of you. I'll leave that open to you.
I don't know. You can find me on the old Facebook.
Yeah.
Like everybody. You can follow me on Instagram at Lowe Life.
Yeah.
And
we'll have that on the screen. And if you're watching on YouTube, link in the description. People listen on Spotify. If they want to find you, can you spell out Lowe Life on Instagram?
Lowe Life. Yeah. It's LOWE_LYFE _.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. Is there anything else? Final words? Anything you want to mention?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm done unless you have more.
No, I think we're going to go get dinner. So that sounds good.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. So if you guys enjoyed this, feel free to share it with friends. Caleb Lowe, pretty cool guy.
Yep.
He's a big old guy with a big old heart. How about that?
There you go.
Yeah, he's probably one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. But if you guys are, if you have any other guests that you would like to recommend, we want to promote those creative, innovative people, always finding ways to do what it is they love. And you're clearly paving your own way to be, what did you say, the poor man's entrepreneur, the enterprise. What was
Poor man's enterprise.
Poor man's enterprise, yeah. So if you have anybody that you would like to recommend, if you want to get a hold of Caleb, you can do that. And if you know anybody that you would consider maybe sponsoring, reach out to them, see if they'd like the show, if they like what we do, and we'd be happy to talk about working out something with them. Other than that, hope you have a good day, Caleb.
Cool, man.
Yeah, man. And people watching, I hope you guys have a good day too. Peace.
Deuces.